I had policies on my two business partners that died, and we spent that money keeping things going. It was a really tumultuous time and emotional, and a lot of employees, and it kind of helped us get through that a little bit better financially. So there is that economic loss that you might face. Money can be complicated. Let a nerd help you. We're here to demystify the complex nature of money by getting you answers from financial nerds and whiz kids. Welcome to Ask the Money Nerds, a weekly segment of the Wealth Labs podcast where we answer your most pressing money questions. You ask, we answer. This is Garrett Gunderson with my Chief of Staff, Stoba. Amanda Stoba for the full name.
Yes.
Amanda Iowa Stoba for even the extended version of that. And some of the questions she's sharing with me are really around where could people save their money and do better than they could in a savings account. And some of these people have read my books, so they're asking about this concept of cash flow insurance, not only for themselves, but for their employees. So Amanda, let's dive right in.
Okay. Will is seeking your advice on cash flow insurance for himself and his employees. So he wrote in wondering how he can go about obtaining policies for himself and some of his key employees. So he's currently has a policy on himself and is wondering if he can create a new policy for himself and his key employees that is paid for by the business. So he wants it to be efficient and also tax considerate. But is this an option for him?
Well, look, there were things called 419 AF of sixes. There was things called 412Is. And those sound familiar from a standpoint of there's 401k, 403b. So it's a tax code where people could do some pre-tax things and buy insurance, but they were very difficult and expensive. You have to provide term insurance to employees. There's a lot of fees to set up these plans, and they're just deferring taxes and delaying them, not necessarily saving them. And so people didn't do the 419 AF6s right. They got sued. Some people owed taxes. Some people lost their homes. So I would be very careful with those kind of things. Instead, I would just look at, you can go to cashflowbanking.com if you're looking to set up a policy. And people we've certified that will design policies right can help out. And you can help your employees, but you could, if you want to own the policy, which I've had people that I've owned policies on that I've worked with and that I currently work with, I'm not tax deducting them, but I do have tax deferred growth, tax favored, access to that cash that doesn't have to trigger that, tax, and a tax-free death benefit because I didn't try to tax deduct that. So there's things called restrictive property trusts that might give you some tax deduction, but you probably need to do a lot of, you got legal fees and you've got some restrictions in that, and you can maybe tax deduct up to 70%, and you still might have to pay taxes on the back end. So for me, I wouldn't even worry about that kind of thing. I would just say, what are the economics and fundamentals here to start putting money away, build some cash, and if you want to own it on employees, that could be a benefit to them sometime in the future as deferred compensation. Or if you just want them to start, when you can pay them, you tax deduct it as a business owner, and they can fund it on their own. But if you want to own it, it's going to be after tax dollars.
Okay. So what are the benefits for employees to have their employer have policies like that on them?
Well, so when my first assistant, Amy, I got a policy because, it was going to be basically a subsidization of her so-called retirement in the future if she stayed with me for a period of time. For me, it's a benefit because if anything ever happened to her, she was instrumental in the organization, and that money would come in tax-free. Because, look, I had policies on my two business partners that died, and we spent that money keeping things going. It was a really tumultuous time and emotional, and a lot of employees, and it kind of helped us get through that a little bit better financially. So there is that economic loss that you might face, but then there's also access to cash along the way, because it's the owner of the policy that controls the policy. The insured is the only one that doesn't change. Whoever's insured always stays the insured, but there's three things. You've got the owner, the insured, and the beneficiary. You can change the owner. The owner can give the policy to someone else or sell the policy to someone else, and the beneficiary can be changed by the owner at any given time, right? So you might use it as a benefit for them in the future. You might use it for a benefit for yourself from a cash value standpoint and a banking standpoint, but now you have them protected and covered from an insurance standpoint if something happens, and that's now an economic loss to the organization.
Okay. So if Will wants to implement this for his employees, would it be something that he could replace instead of a 401k?
Yeah, we've had people bring us into their firm. And when I say I might have given a speech, and then our team kind of goes in and meets one-on-one to customize and personalize plans for everyone, rather than just the standard fare of, we offer a 401k, which, most people don't really value that much.
Yeah.
It's almost like an expectation at this point, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's a benefit, but how much of a benefit is it? And how much does it actually benefit them? Where one-on-one attention can create a lot of benefit, and some of them might choose to implement these types of policies or plans, right? But it's kind of their choice, and how does it impact their life and what they're, what they're doing. So I would say education is going to be the key for the employees, getting what the options are. And that can show true, genuine concern for their well-being versus just something that, has just failed people. Yeah. People putting money in retirement plans isn't helping people retire. It's that pensions failed, and then it got pushed on to the employee, which I don't have a problem with personal responsibility. I have a problem with the fact that people feel like they're going to be okay, and they're going to find out it's not going to do the job. So it gives this false sense of security, this false, sense of hope that's been pretty devastating for retirees. So if you're willing to invest some, one-on-one time, having a financial firm or people coming in and meeting with them and building out the plan, the best thing for them might be paying off loans or restructuring loans or building up a little bit of savings and liquidity. Or, like there was one lady that was an employee for a dentist that's a friend of mine. We helped her get her lake home now versus, when she retired, which made her happier. And, she stopped funding her 401k because the dentist wanted to collapse the 401k plan because he started to realize, like, I thought I was getting all these tax benefits, but it's tax deferral and it's super expensive. And the employees don't even act like they care. And two really did. And they were almost threatening to quit until they had the one-on-one attention and they built a better plan for who they are.
Yeah. I like the idea of designing a program for your employees that really work for them rather than giving them a cookie cutter approach to helping them.
That's why I created Ask the Money Nerds for you.
Yes,
this is your plan. Ask the Money Nerds for Stolba.
Here I am. Yeah, and
recorded and everything.
We have so many questions that have been coming in about, and maybe not just questions, but concerns about 401ks. We have more people graduating with massive amounts of student loan debt. Amounts. Like it's asinine how much money people are graduating.
So people have
this
massive student loan debt, and then they're trying to fund a 401k.
Yeah.
I mean, the student loan debt is crushing their cash flow, and so is their 401k because it's not kicking off cash flow, yet they feel a sense of shame or guilt or obligation, like I better be funding that for my retirement. And the reality is you might have to retire that student loan in order to feel more peace of mind, in order to be more productive, in order to enjoy life along the way, and the retirement plan might be in direct opposition to that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think that there are just in today's society, there are a lot of other things that employers can consider to contribute to their employee satisfaction and the longevity of someone being within a company. And if someone feels cared for and looked out for, especially in regards to finances, they're going to contribute more to a company, produce at a higher level, bring more value to the table. And so,
remember ShopFix when I went and spoke at ShopFix? And that group was so concerned with their employees. Like, when they started to see, well, maybe these retirement plans aren't the best thing they were genuinely asking, like, because it wasn't just that they were giving them a throwaway benefit or they were just looking for their own tax deduction. They're like, oh, I really want to take care of these people who've been working for me and an integral part of the organization. And so I really admired that. And I just think it's a question a lot of employers have, that it's like, well, this is what everybody does. A, right?
Yeah.
B, what else am I going to do? It's just not as easy because it takes a little bit more time and attention, and business already takes a lot of time and attention. But I think there's just a lot of employees that are funding that at the same time they're racking up credit card debt, or at the same time they have student loans that are burdening them, or at the same time they haven't addressed basic, simple things around taxes and savings, and and they even delay their entire life because they think, oh well, one day, someday we'll be able to do those things. But right now we got to fund our 401k, and if the 401k ends up letting them down, that's going to be a bitter pill to swallow.
It's going to be tragic. Yeah,
that's tough.
Definitely. Yeah, so in our office, we talk about currency, like with everyone on our team, like what's your currency? And sometimes that means cash, sometimes that means experiences. And so do you want to talk a little bit about, how you
acknowledgement?
How do you identify
laughter?
Your
like your currency is laughter.
Yes.
So I don't even pay you. I just make you laugh and you're super happy.
And I just feel as rich as I can be.
You just live in a cardboard box when I'm not around. And
yeah. So like, how could Will, if he wanted to have a conversation with his employees about identifying what their currency is and what's important to them, what are some guiding questions or advice that you would have?
Yeah, a lot of it's, if you invest the time and say, what do you hope to get out of a 401k if they're already doing it, right? How's it going? Do you see it as a real value or benefit? What are your biggest financial stressors? What about money is important to you? What types of things are you waiting for one day, someday to finally do? Because I learned, had an early mentor that talked about 5 types of compensation: salary, non-monetary bonuses, which could be trips, or it could be like buying someone an iPad or just something they wouldn't buy for themselves. Then team bonuses when everybody hits a goal, bonuses for the individual when they accomplish something like objective, and stock options, right? So we have 5 different things. Now, when I had my first assistant, I remember, bonusing her all the time on things that were going on. And then the year I said, oh, this is basically what you made per hour. She's like, no, it isn't, because bonuses to her didn't speak to her currency of stability and security. So I did instead is I raised her salary, and I actually raised it more slowly, and she got paid a little bit less than the bonuses, but they counted more for her. Right?
Yeah.
Then I had another person that was on the team that just would really want to go to Disney, and I don't know if her husband didn't want to spring for it, and they had, too many kids to go do it as they saw it. And I said, look, if we hit these objectives, I'm sending you to Disney. Totally ready to work.
Yeah.
Or I think when I went and spoke at this other firm, amazing.com, and brought a couple of the guys from Wealth Factory with me, they met with one of the, executives there that was not an owner, and it freed up $750 per month because she had 2 girls in school, and freeing that up gave her a whole different sense of satisfaction and peace of mind and reassurance, and not living so much paycheck to paycheck. And without that stress, there was a more ability to be creative and enjoy the work. And so I think that, we all have our different currencies, and, everything from just flexibility and freedom to time with family, to acknowledgement, to some people just love to get paid a boatload of money. Some people, love just that trip that they get to take if they hit certain objectives. So I think it's important just to know what's going on in their financial life, what's working, what's not working, what they really want to accomplish. Because if it's just to retire, are they even engaged in what they're doing? Like, what would it take to be so captivated by your purpose, so engaged in what you're doing that you don't get exhausted from it, because you're not just trading time for benefits and time for money. You're actually doing something. You're like, this matters.
Yeah, I really think in today's society, it's something that can't be overlooked, and your company, a person's company, will be more successful, and employee satisfaction is really important. We're humans. We're not robots. We're not meant to be machines and just work towards someday, one day, and try to figure out what life's going to look like down the road, but how do we enjoy it now? And I think this is a really important conversation for business owners to have, and some good information that's been shared.
All right. So whether it's you're looking to, go out there and start something as far as where you could save your money and get a better return, or whether it's something you're looking to do for your employees, I think the key is personal finance has to be personal. And just doing something because that's what everyone else has been doing, or it's become standard because of billions of dollars of marketing and a social agreement, but it's been letting people down. It's okay to ask questions. It's okay to understand what's most important to you. And if you figure that out, you're going to be able to make wiser choices and decisions. And by doing that, keep more of what you make, take on less risk, and have a better life along the way.